I hope all is well with you. Is that you, Yumi's mother? Hello, I am phoning from the preschool where I work. What is it exactly? A call from the baby school came out of the blue and I had no idea why they had phoned me. Initially, I was under the impression that it was a prank. However, when the instructor on the other end of the line talked in a serious tone, I realized that I was mistaken. Are you able to come and get Yumi? We are no longer able to confine her. The information that I was hearing was difficult for me to comprehend. It has been a month since my daughter passed away. I am sorry. This is Hazel, my name. I am John and I am 28 years old. My name is John. I have a job with a corporation. Nathan is the name of the person I'm seeing at the moment. We were of the same age and shared a lot of interests, so it didn't take long for us to develop a bond with one another. It appeared as though he was a typical employee for the organization. He was steady, calm, and intelligent. I place a high value on these characteristics because we are getting older and are planning to be married in the near future. The way things appear is no longer the only factor. Nathan is an exceptionally kind and considerate individual who goes above and above what I anticipate and puts me at rest. He never fails to come up with inventive ideas whenever we go on a date, and when we stay at his house, he prepares some of the most delicious meals we've ever had. At one point, while he was serving dinner, he remarked, "This dish made with eggplant is incredibly delicious, isn't it? It is shockingly simple to do. In order to speed things up, I simply use the microwave." "That is such a fantastic thing," I responded by saying, "Wow. You're really good at Japanese food." "Yeah. Actually, my family runs a small restaurant, pretty. I learned this when we first started going out together. Nathan's family owns a small business and lives in the country. Because his father is a chef, he learned how to cook from him. He's very good in the kitchen and can make many different kinds of food." "Do you have any brothers or sisters?" I asked. He said, "Yes, I have a younger sister. Since he had a sister, he was the oldest son. This made me wonder if he would ever take over the family business." "Plans for the future? What do you want to do?" "I asked about your job, you know." He answered, "After working at the company for a little while longer, I plan to go back to my hometown and take over the family's small restaurant." There was a pause. "I think I'll begin with some training." Oh, does that make sense? I was surprised by what he wanted to do. "When we get married, I'll have to quit my job and move in with him. I love my job as a web designer." I wasn't thinking about leaving anytime soon. I wanted to be with Nathan, though. My problem was being talked about with a senior coworker before I knew it. Then why not look for work that you can do from home? She told me, "Really? The good thing about our job is that we can do it anywhere with a computer. Some companies will let you work from home if you do a good job of managing your time. I'm sure that's also possible for your business." Is that true? Hearing what she said gave me hope. In other words, I could keep my job even if Nathan and I moved. When I asked Nathan about his plans for the future, he admitted that he had been thinking that if we got married, he would have to make me quit my job and fly with him. This made us feel a little uncomfortable with each other. I asked my boss right away if I could move to working from home. The answer was that there shouldn't be any problems as long as you meet the company's requirements. It was getting easier to connect to the internet and use the computer. In other words, I could move to Nathan's city right away if I wanted to. I told Nathan about it on our next date, after making sure with my boss. "Really? So you can keep working at your current job while living in my town?" he asked. His face showed a mix of surprise and relief. "That is possible, yes," I smiled and answered. "That's great." That man looked truly relieved, and seeing that made me feel the same way. After that, we decided right away to get married. One evening, Nathan asked Hazel, "If it's okay with you, would you marry me and move to my town?" His voice was filled with emotion. And I responded immediately, yes, I'd love to. As a result, we made the decision to get married. Although they appeared to be a little sad when I told them that I was moving, they eventually supported me and told me to be happy. Nathan and I eventually got married and started living together. His father taught him how to work at the small business that belonged to his family. We first lived with his parents because the business was right next to their house. My in-laws wanted Nathan to focus on learning the business without having to think about housework, so they suggested that we stay with them to make our lives easier. I would later learn, though, that this choice was wrong. Having to live with my in-laws was harder than I thought it would be. Hazel, do you plan to stay in your room for a long time? One day Susan, my wife's mother, said, knocking on the door hard. Susan, I have to work. I told them that I was working at the moment. Working? You stay in your room all the time. What do you do for a living? Are you trying to trick me with that reason? She replied, but her tone was full of doubt. My mother-in-law said, I'll never accept it, but I said, I'm really working, do not lie. It looks like you're just having fun by drawing on that computer, right? She yelled and looked at my screen. While I was trying to be patient with her, I told her it's my job. She responded, I won't be fooled. Web design is the term that describes this situation. It's shameful for an adult to be wasting time drawing pictures. My mother-in-law was probably stuck in the past and didn't understand what it meant to work from home. To her, I wasn't really working. I was just stuck at home doing nothing but chores. I never thought I'd have such a lazy daughter-in-law. Here you are, going about your business like a parasite while Nathan is putting in a lot of effort to become top class. Try to be more useful, she told me almost every day, which made it harder for me to focus on my work. I had to do something to make things better, so I told my husband about it. What? My mom is getting in the way of your work? Nathan asked me when I talked about it. Yes, it seems like she doesn't know that I work from home. I think she thinks I'm just messing around, I told you. Okay. My mom has old-fashioned notions, so it might have to happen. I'll talk to her, he vowed. Nathan's backing made me feel better, but my mother-in-law was more adamant than I anticipated she would be. How did you convince Nathan? Exactly why do I need to be reprimanded? It's obvious that you're just messing around, she cried. There's no way that's the case. I've been trying to explain, I contended, but our disputes just became worse. Every time she said anything ridiculous. I begged Nathan for assistance. I was attempting to explain everything. In spite of this, he appeared to be less willing to assist over the course of time. This is a problem between the two of you. Solve it yourselves, he said one day. Just as I thought I couldn't take it any longer, something unexpected happened. I went to the hospital because I felt sick and was shocked to hear that I was pregnant. My mother-in-law had been pressuring me to have a child, but I never thought I'd be pregnant at such a bad time. I told my husband-in-law right away about the pregnancy. The news stunned everyone, but my mother-in-law was shocked the most. Well done, she remarked, plainly delighted. My husband and father-in-law were also glad, but my mother-in-law's enthusiasm was the clearest. Since then, she has been much friendlier to me. Hazel, how are you feeling? I'll take care of the duties so that you don't have to do too much, she said. Her abrupt shift of attitude was a relief. She stopped yelling at me and threatening me on a daily basis. She stopped being rude and started caring about my health. It was nice to have my mother-in-law, who used to be rude, offer support during this hard time. Even though my relationship with my husband was strained at first, things started to get better and our bond grew stronger. I settled into a stable state as I prepared for giving birth, but a new problem came up. After hearing about my pregnancy, my mother-in-law asked. Yes, it's a girl, I told her straight out. It made her face fall in sadness. A girl? It should have been a boy. Men have always run our restaurant. It's unheard of for women to receive these kinds of businesses. I tried to talk her down. That can't happen. These days women can also receive businesses. Her answer was harsh. Don't use your strange beliefs to defend yourself. It's clear that this isn't right for you. However, my mother-in-law's dislike swiftly grew into hatred. Not having heir means you're not worth anything, she said. My father-in-law and husband were a little bit unhappy that the baby wasn't a male, but they weren't as sorry as my mother-in-law. What is your plan for the duration of your stay in bed? Get up and get some chores done around the house. I told her, I'm sorry, but I've been extremely sick with morning sickness. Don't be so spoiled. Being pregnant is not a disease. Get up, she cried. I'm sorry, Dot. In an effort to rouse me from my sleep, she cried out. I went against my in-laws' wishes and went back to my parents' house for the birth, even though I was sick and being treated badly. Spending time at my parents' house felt like a long-awaited relief. While I felt great mentally and physically while I was there, it was clear that my stay with my in-laws had been a major source of stress. After some time at my parents' house, my daughter was finally born. We named her Yi, and she was cute as can be. I promised to protect her with all my heart. Maybe because the hospital where I gave birth was in my hometown, none of my aunt-in-laws came to visit. Not even once. I had hoped my husband would come, but he had to work at the restaurant. After resting and getting better, I decided to go back to my aunt-in-law's house, but I quickly changed my mind. My mother-in-law greeted me with anger and asked, "Why have you taken so long to bring back my grandchild?" Because of the delay, I apologize. I informed her that I need to get some rest. Rest? What exactly do you mean when you say that you are busy? The restaurant was featured in periodicals and on television, and we have been completely booked every single day I inquired. I even had to assist out there, she responded. I see, that's why I need you to come to the restaurant right away, my mother-in-law remarked. Although I felt overwhelmed, I had no choice but to come to the restaurant. My husband also implored me to assist, saying that the restaurant was in difficulty. In spite of my reluctance, I decided to enroll my kid in a daycare center and begin working as a waiter at the restaurant owned by my husband's parents. At that point, things became quite difficult. In addition to taking care of my daughter, I was required to work at the restaurant on a daily basis and complete all of the cleaning. During this time, my health was deteriorating and my mother-in-law was verbally assaulting me on a regular basis, which had the effect of pushing me to the edge of my mental capabilities. Suddenly, I passed out and the doctor determined that I had a gastrointestinal ulcer that was caused by stress. After I came to, I informed the physician about what had taken place. He informed me that I would have to be in the hospital for a longer period of time than is typical. My mother-in-law did not appear to be concerned when I informed her about it. What a troubled woman, she commented in a scoffing tone while she was on the phone with me. Concurrently, my husband expressed his regret for exerting an excessive amount of pressure on you, but it seemed as though it was too little, too late. The notion that he was also to blame for things getting to such a poor state was something that I was unable to shake. Rose, who worked at a small restaurant, assisted me while I was in the hospital by providing me with assistance. She said, "I'll take care of you," and continued. I said, "Thank you so much," when I was feeling fantastic. "I'll drop off and pick up your daughter." I was able to concentrate on getting healthy because to Rose's assistance with childcare, which was a lifeline. However, after I had been in the hospital for a few weeks, my husband called me in a state of sheer terror. "Hazel, please calm down and listen. Yumi has died." The news had a profound impact on me. "I'm sorry, but I'm also suffering," he stated to reporters. The news that was so shocking caused me to feel very apprehensive. The ashes of my daughter were contained within an urn that I discovered when I returned home from the hospital. I was already sad, but then my husband said, "I'm giving you this urn," and asking for a divorce. I realized that I was already upset. I told her, "I understand if you're fed up with the situation. I am. I'm done with your mother's bullying and your inability to protect me. I'll leave. I was determined to move on with my life, so I left my in-laws' house and filed for divorce. I was also upset that we had lost our daughter and that we were still having issues with my mother. During the most difficult time of my life, the warm welcome that I received from my parents when I returned to their home helped me feel better. When I explained to my employer the reason I had been absent for so long, I had been lying in bed for a month when I received an odd phone call. "Hello, is this Yumi's mother? This is a staff member from the nursery. Why are you calling? At first I thought it may be a prank, but the voice on the other end of the line was telling the truth. Could you please come and pick up Yumi? It's past the time we can keep her." I had no idea what to say, so I answered, "I'm sorry, but my daughter passed away a month ago." The teacher's tone shifted to rage as she heard my words. "Why would you say that? It is not possible to ignore your own child. Please come quickly." I was taken aback by their response, and as a result, I hurried to the nursery. When I saw Yumi there, I was taken aback to realize that she was still alive and laughing joyfully. The realization that she was in good health brought a great deal of relief to me. When they approached me, it was patently obvious that the instructor was aware of what was taking place. The reason she brought Yumi here each day was because her mother-in-law told her that you were too busy to pick her up each day. When she claimed that Yumi was in my care, my mother-in-law was exaggerating the situation because she was actually residing at the nursery. As a result, I became really irritated. Due to the fact that my name and phone number were recorded as the emergency contact, the childcare facility reached out to communicate with me. The fact that both my husband and my father-in-law had lied to me made me very angry. With Yumi, I made my way back to the residence of my parents. I was just about to settle in when I received a call from a number that I was not familiar with. Yes, that was the mother of my spouse. "How did you come to have the authority to take Yumi back?" And she yelled. I gave my response. "The reason you lied about killing Yumi is unclear." My knowledge expanded to include the fact that she was still alive and had been brought to the nursery. If you want to make things simpler for yourself, you should stop telling deceptive stories right now. I am going to be the sole caregiver for my child. While I was on the phone with my mother-in-law, I told her, "Do whatever you want, but don't call me again." She then hung up, and I became really angry. I made the decision to learn everything there was to know, so I went to the home of my in-laws with some vital documents. She asked, with a look of bewilderment on her face, "What are you doing here?" On that particular day, the restaurant was closed, and the entire family, along with another significant individual, was at home watching television. I said, "I've come to talk about the affair that Nathan and Rose have been having." It was obvious that the affair caused everyone to be shaken when it was brought up. I showed my ex-husband evidence that Rose was pregnant and that Nathan was the father. These papers revealed that Rose was pregnant around the time that I gave birth. At the time, I was unaware of this information affair. "What are you talking about?" my ex-husband said, his face turning pale. "And you had an affair that led to this pregnancy. To hide it, you lied to me about Yumi's death." As they heard what I had to say, their faces turned even whiter. "I'm glad Yumi is safe, but I will be demanding child support and compensation for my mental distress," I said. My ex-husband started to say sorry a lot. "I'm really sorry. It wasn't right. This was all my mom's idea, and I didn't agree with it. We planned to place Yumi in a facility for children in need, a place that helps kids in need." "What do you want to say?" I asked for. He told a shocking truth. Plan was to make up Yumi's death and put her in a child welfare facility so that no one would have to pay child support or compensation. My anger reached its peak. "I'm really sorry," he begged. "Please, I beg you to forget about the child support and compensation. I can't forgive that at all. I'm going to take you to court. Do not forget." I answered and then left the house. After these things happened, I asked Nathan and Rose to pay me back and my ex-husband to pay child support. I also told neighbors, regulars at the restaurant, and moms from the nursery school what was going on. The scandal quickly spread and hurt the image of my in-laws. Social media spread the word about the family's small restaurant, and soon it lost customers. People who had read about it in magazines also stopped coming. It seemed like the only fair punishment for what they had done. At the same time, I continued to work from home at my parents' house while I was taking care of my daughter. What a wonderful child she is developing into, and both my parents and I are so proud of her. I am going to continue to put in a lot of effort for her.